In this Minecraft world, I'll only be starting with one chunk of land. Using mods, I've made it so the extra chunks of my world can only be unlocked after progressing throughout the game. Now the first thing I noticed when I spawned into this world is that I'm next to half of a village house, which means a village ended up spawning on the chunk border of my spawn chunk. So this is a good thing and a bad thing, since this is going to be my only source of wood. But it also means that I'll be able to access villagers very quickly. I also realized there was going to be very little food sources around, so I went ahead and I started cutting down the grass to get some seeds. I knew this meant I was going to have to also find water so I could begin to plant the seeds, so I went and I looked around the borders of my chunk to see if there'd be any water spilling out of caves nearby. And just so happened, on the edge near the village house, down in the distance, there is a bit of water. So of course, this means I'm gonna have to find some iron in order to craft a bucket. So, now it's time to start mining. I know this all might feel a little rushed in the beginning here, but when I started this, I really had no intention on making it a video, let alone a series. However, I do promise, there is gameplay to come and less replays, and it will get a lot more fun. I have big hopes for what this world will turn into. On that note, there was a big scare here pretty early on as I fell into the water, long before I had meant to. At this point, I only have a stone and a wooden pickaxe. My first instinct was to swim into the water pocket and dig a tunnel to give myself space to breathe and a bit more time to think of a way out. At this point I'm thinking maybe I can find some iron down here, and then hopefully a mine shaft for wood so I can make a crafting table, and then craft up a furnace, find some coal, smelt my iron, craft a bucket, and collect this water to swim my way out. However, that seemed like a very long and tedious process, especially considering the unlikelihood of finding a mine shaft in a single chunk, so I decided my pickaxe probably has enough durability that I'll be able to just mine a few blocks and get myself out of here by towering. And I even found a bit of iron while digging for the blocks I would use to pillar out. On the way up back to the surface, I found 3 more pieces of iron and a bit of coal, figuring I wouldn't want to be wasting my limited wood on any fuel when I could use coal instead. And as I placed the iron in the furnace and stepped back to wait for it to smelt, I realized just what kind of undertaking I had put upon myself here. This was definitely going to be a lot of me versus my mind, finding tasks to fight off the inevitable boredom that I would experience on this lonesome single chunk. So I crafted up a hoe to get ready to garden, did a little dance once my iron had been finished smelting, and crafted up a bucket to gather the water for my farm. I figured this water cave would end up being a spot I would visit more than a few times in the future, so I decided to place this first bucket of water on the pillar which I had made earlier to make getting up and down much easier for me. After planting the 6 seeds I had gotten earlier, I figured a good way to pass time and let the crops grow would be some good old-fashioned mining. I wanted to continue digging around the water cave, but I was met with a horde of monsters and quickly decided to turn the other way, and I decided instead I would dig down from the small mine that I had started up on the surface. I even found my first bit of copper, and this is actually going to be important down the road. Then I decided I just wanted to dig out as much of my underground as possible. At this point I'm still very low on resources, so anything really helps, even if it's just cobblestone. After a minute or so of that, I got bored, and decided again to check the cave. I found a little bit of iron down here in the cave next to the water cave, and then wanted to check if there was monsters still behind that wall. I checked and there was, and I was this close to fighting, but then I noticed the creeper and I was quickly turned away. Yeah, fighting those is just not worth it right now. I was actually pretty proud of this next idea. I wanted to see if I could turn this single chunk into a blessing rather than a curse. There would certainly be a lot of exposed ore on the sides, so I put a stream of water for myself to swim down and get a closer look on the walls of my chunk. Now unfortunately I did take my first bit of damage, and as you can see by my hunger bar, it is going to be a long time until I can heal this up, but on the bright side I did find some coal and even a little more iron. So this new method of mining was definitely paying off. I repeated this method on the next wall and found a much larger vein of iron here. This is amazing now, because that's exactly enough to make a chest plate. I can finally get some armor, and maybe even confront a monster or two. I accidentally messed up the infinite water source I had going in my crop farm, but lo and behold, while I was distracted and fixing it, my first bit of wheat had actually grown. Only 2 more for my first piece of food. I went AFK for a little while and replaced some of the wooden walls with cobblestone to get some extra wood for tools. The next thing I did here is kinda strange. Looking back, it was certainly not the most sensible idea. The thought process was to create a large dark room just below my feet that mobs could spawn in, and I would use the stone I'd gather to pillar high up and wait for them to spawn, giving me something to do during periods of waiting. I won't really touch again on this project because nothing ever really came out of it, but I thought it was kinda funny that it happened, so I'll leave this sped up footage of me digging out the room. I even wasted some of my wood on ladders to get in and out of here. Truthfully, not sure what I was thinking looking back. At least now I have a little extra cobblestone, and hey, some time passed and a little bit of wheat grew, so maybe it wasn't all bad. Then I decided to do my first bit of decorating. I had 1 iron ingot left, so I turned it into nuggets and crafted a lantern to dangle by my wheat. Now it feels like a real farm, huh? If you noticed, before I made the lantern, I had broken my 3rd fully grown piece of wheat. You know what that means? First food, baby. I crafted up the bread, and my now recently fed confidence decided to choose violence. Okay, yeah, so maybe I ran away and decided to wall peek at the monsters until they were dead, but hey. I got the Monster Hunter achievement, and I'm still alive, so you can't take that away from me. Feeling like a champion, I came back to the surface and pondered what to do next. Then I remembered, I still have 1 more wall to check for ores. On the way down, I took another bit of drowning damage, but I was determined now to go a bit lower than I had before. At this point, I have still barely scratched the surface of the deep slate level. I'm not really too concerned with collecting gold or lapis at the moment. I just don't really have any use for either of them. However, I do think I noticed something way down low. That familiar light blue shimmer that everybody loves. Episode 1, and we already got our first diamonds. Man, am I happy for this world. It is going to be amazing. And the fun doesn't even stop there, because even lower, there's 2 more diamonds. I mine the last 2 diamonds and check, and we've got 7 whole diamonds on day 1. How awesome is that? And back up on the surface, another piece of wheat has even grown. We're almost at bread number 2. Everything's looking great right now. After a minute or so of weighing my options, I decide that a pickaxe is for now the best use of my diamonds. This already gives me so many options for what I'm going to do in episode 2. But for now, I decide it's about time I pack up my stuff and I get inside, since the phantoms will be coming any day now. Besides, it's time I start making this place mine, because you know what they say, it doesn't matter if you're in a mansion or a night 1 dirt hut. Once you place down your furnace next to that crafting table, you've got yourself a home right there. Speaking of episode 2, I guess I really haven't mentioned my plan yet. I think I'm going to add chunks corresponding to what episode that I'm on. For example, in the 2nd episode, I'm going to add 2 chunks to this world. On the 3rd episode, I'll add 3, and so on. Since this isn't exactly a sustainable way to do things, as I'll probably be on episode 50 by the time I'm even remotely close to a stronghold, I'm thinking around episode 10 I might change up how things are done. But for now, I like this idea, and I'm going to stick to it for the next few.